They were just street performers, faces lost in the blur of a busy city, voices echoing against concrete walls, and dreams often drowned out by the noise of passing cars and hurried footsteps. Every evening, as the sun dipped low and the streetlights flickered to life, they would gather at the same corner, setting up their worn-out instruments with quiet determination. Their clothes were simple, their equipment imperfect, but their passion was undeniable. People walked past them every day, some sparing a glance, others tossing a coin, but very few ever stopped long enough to truly listen. Still, they sang as if the world was watching. Each note carried a story of struggle, hope, and resilience, a silent promise that one day someone would hear them, really hear them. What they didn't know was that their moment was closer than they could ever imagine, waiting just around the corner, ready to change everything. Paragraph 2. On that particular evening, nothing seemed different at first. The air was thick with the usual sounds of traffic and chatter, and the performers began their routine like they always did. But as their voices rose in harmony, something unusual started to happen. A small crowd began to gather, larger than usual, quieter than usual. There was a tension in the air, an unspoken sense that something extraordinary was unfolding. Among the growing audience stood a man, calm and observant, his presence unnoticed by most but impossible to ignore for those who recognized him. He watched closely, his expression unreadable, as if measuring every note, every emotion, every ounce of raw talent being poured into the performance. The singers, unaware of who stood before them, continued with even greater intensity, their voices trembling with passion and authenticity. Paragraph 3. As the song reached its emotional peak, something unexpected happened. The man stepped forward. The crowd parted instinctively, murmurs rippling through the audience as recognition spread like wildfire. It was Simon Cowell, the man known for his sharp critiques and impossible standards. The performers froze mid-note, their hearts pounding as reality hit them. For a moment, time seemed to stand still. Simon raised his hand, signaling them to stop, and the music faded into silence. The street, once filled with sound, became eerily quiet. The performers exchanged nervous glances, unsure whether they were about to be criticized or praised. Their entire journey, all their struggles and sacrifices, seemed to hang in that fragile moment of silence. Paragraph 4. Simon looked at them, not with the cold judgment they had feared, but with something far deeper, curiosity, maybe even admiration. He asked them a simple question. Why are you here? It wasn't meant as criticism, but as a challenge. One of the singers, gathering courage, stepped forward and spoke honestly about their dreams, their hardships, and their unwavering belief that music could change their lives. The vulnerability in their voice touched everyone present. Simon listened carefully, nodding slightly, as if piecing together the story behind the voices he had just heard. Then, after a pause that felt like an eternity, he asked them to sing again, this time not for the crowd, not for coins, but for him. Paragraph 5. With trembling hands and racing hearts, they began again. But this time, something was different. The fear, the doubt, the uncertainty, they all melted away, replaced by a fierce determination to give everything they had. Their voices soared higher, stronger, more powerful than ever before. The street transformed into something magical, as if it were no longer just a corner in a busy city, but a stage worthy of the world's attention. The crowd stood captivated, many holding their breath, others wiping away tears. And Simon, known for his critical eye, stood completely still, his usual composure replaced by a rare and genuine emotional response. By the time the final note faded, the silence that followed was heavier than any applause. Paragraph 6. Then, slowly, Simon began to clap. It started as a single deliberate gesture, but it quickly grew into a thunderous ovation as the crowd joined in. What he said next would change their lives forever. He didn't just praise them, he saw them. He recognized the raw, unpolished brilliance that had been hidden in plain sight all along. In that moment, they were no longer just street performers. They were artists, dreamers on the brink of something extraordinary. Opportunities opened, doors that once seemed impossible now within reach. But more than that, they gained something far greater, validation, belief, and the realization that their voices mattered. That night, under the glow of streetlights, everything changed. What began as just another performance ended as the start of a journey that would take them far beyond the streets they once called their stage.